welcome to Mrs Patnell's literacy lesson. Now this is our third literacy lesson that we've done so far since we've had our lockdown sessions. This one follows on from the second one. So the one where we looked at the My Friends information text, that information text here, My Friends, and we looked at different features of an information text, okay. I have the features here on my board so that we don't forget what they are. So we're going to work through these different features and we're going to look in our books again to find where they are in our own information books. So if you've got yours at home, and I've seen that some of you in my class, you had your information books and you were fabulous at finding those different features, so thumbs up to you. We're just going to check that we haven't forgotten any of those different features for this lesson, and then we're going to take our lesson a little further, okay, to create our own information books. So, looking on our list here, my first one I'm going to start with is the title. Okay, so the title in my information book, where will I find the title? Is the title on the back? Is it halfway through the book? Nope, the title is always on the front of a book, okay? It's the quickest way when you take a book off a shelf and look at it to decide if it might be the sort of thing you want to read. This is the quickest way to find out if it could be of interest to you. So the title is straight on the front and you can see, am I interested in this information text, okay? Also, one of the children in my class, thumbs up to you, I didn't add this on my list, but often on the front page of a book is the name of the author as well, okay? Now, this one doesn't have a name of the author. I've got a sneaky feeling that this one might have been written by a group of people, not just one person, so that's why they haven't added it to this book. But often on your information book, it will have the name of the author somewhere around, maybe here, or just under the title, to let you know who wrote the book, okay, who put all these facts together into this information book, and that is the author. So thumbs up to the person in my class who found out the author of their book and pointed it out on their video. Well done to you. So, title, front page, okay, possibly an author on there, the person who wrote it. Page numbers, can you flick to page numbers in your information book if you've got it sitting there in front of you? Where will I find page numbers? Well, there's quite a clue in the name because it says page numbers, so they're probably going to be on every page. I can see here that this is page 7 on my book. Okay, there's 7 there. Therefore, this one less, must be page 6. Yes, it is. So I know that the next page, one more than 7, must be page 8. Yes, it is. So there's my page numbers. Very helpful in an information book, probably more so than in a fiction book. Okay, it's very unusual, unless you're studying that book in great detail, that you'll need to go to a certain page in a fiction book, a book from your imagination. But in a book that's an information book full of facts, page numbers are very important because you often don't want to read the whole book. You want to go straight to the page that you want to read, okay? So let's have a look at contents. Where will I find contents in my information book? The contents page. Have a flick in your book if you have it there with you. I don't know if you found it in the same place as me, but it is right at the beginning of the book. I've got a little cover page there, a blank one, to keep it nice. And then just inside, pretty much on the first page with any writing on, I have got my contents page there, okay? Now, what does a contents page tell us? Very important in an information book. What does a contents page tell us? Well, I'm hoping that you're yelling it out to the screen right now, but if not, I'm going to go through it with you just in case you might have forgotten. A contents page has lots of page numbers here. My one says page 4, page 8, but sometimes it just says the 4, the 8, the 12. It doesn't actually say page in front of it. So if you've just got numbers, those numbers are referring to page numbers, okay? So, they don't run in order as well. So page 4, page 8, page 12, page 16. I wonder why they don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it has some writing next to those page numbers. Now this writing tells me that if I was to go to page 4, this is what I would find there. These are the facts that I would find on page 4. So in my book, page 4 says, what are friends? So if I was like, what are friends? I don't know what makes someone a friend. Then I would want to go to page 4 to have a look at what makes someone a friend. Let's see if it works. Let's go to page 4. Here we go. Page 4. What are friends? It does work. That's fantastic. Let's go back to my contents page. Let's imagine I wanted to know about friends at home. Friends at home. So it says at home here, page 18. So I would flick using those page numbers we looked at before to find page 18, and 18 is a 1, then an 8. Here is page 18, and at the top here it says at home. Friends at home. Fantastic. A contents page really does help you out to get straight to the page that you are looking for. Okay, so we have done contents, page numbers, title, pictures. There's always pictures in information books, particularly information books for children. Okay, so can you have a look in your book and put your finger on a picture in your book in front of you? Let me do that in mine. Oh, there's tons of pictures. Well, I'm going to go with this one. I like this chap here. So I've got a picture here of a nice guy holding a football with a really big smile on his face, so he does look friendly. So there are pictures, in fact, all through my information book. Look, every page has a picture. You might find that's the case in your information book. Sometimes with more adult ones, there's not so many pictures, there's lots more words, but certainly in the ones that we look at, there are lots of pictures, okay? The purpose of pictures in information books, remember, are to help us understand what they've just told us, okay? Sometimes if we just read sentences on a page, we can't quite picture what something might mean or look like. So particularly if, let's say, we're researching animals or insects that we've never heard of before, never seen them before, maybe they're in the rainforest in Brazil and we've never seen them before, then it really helps that after the explanation about what they look like or some facts about them, that there's a picture as well, so we can get a clear picture in our minds of what we're talking about. So pictures are very important in information books. So headings. So open your information book now and look for a heading. Can you spot a heading? I'm going to flick into mine, past the contents page, and I'm going to go with, I think I've done that one last time, let's change it a bit. I'm going to go with this one. So here on page 12, I've got a heading the top of my page. That's normally where the headings are. They'll be right at the top, probably in the middle of the page. Sometimes it might be off to the left or something, but there it is, and it's normally written a bit bigger than the other text on the page. And my title, my heading here rather, says best friends, okay? So I know that all the information on the next few pages is relating to the facts about best friends, okay? So that's my heading, usually at the top. Will tell you all about what's going to go on the next few pages. That's also what you normally see in the contents page, is the heading written there, okay? So whatever you see printed here on the contents page will normally be what your heading is at the top of your page when you go to it. Right, subheadings. So headings were the big bits at the top, subheadings. Now my book isn't completely full of subheadings, to be honest, because there's not a great deal of facts in here. But if I was to say, I'd probably say maybe this would be one of my subheadings, okay? So I've got my big heading at the top, and that tells me what the whole next few pages will be about. But subheadings come in lower down normally, often in smaller writing, and they tell you even more, like they're zooming in even more on particular information, okay? So it might still be about, it will still be about friends at school, but it might be something friends at school in PE lessons. So it tells you just a little bit more information to zoom in on if you don't even want to read the whole page, okay? So it really does speed up the job of finding out the information you need. So that's subheadings. Captions, okay? Put your finger on a caption in your information book. What is a caption? We discussed them before. A caption, I would probably say that in this picture here, and it's made to look like a speech bubble that this little girl is saying it, so it's quite a funky caption in this book. It's normally placed around or on the pictures, and it tells you a little bit more about what's happening in the picture. So you might have a picture and you think, okay, I can see what that's doing, but don't quite understand what's going on in that picture. So a caption will tell you a little bit more about what is happening in that picture. That's usually placed on the picture or somewhere in and around it. And my caption that looks like a speech bubble, and it's this little girl saying, I sit next to my best friend. So it's letting you know what's happening in this picture, that she's sitting next to her best friend. Okay. Facts. Oh, we should all know what facts are now. You can put your finger on a fact in your book if you want to. I'm going to go with doink. Here's a fact. In fact, this book is full of facts because it's an information book. It's what it's all about. Everything written in an information book has to be true. Okay, absolutely true. They can't make things up from their imaginations, because then it would be a fiction book and not an information text at all. Okay, so facts are things that are absolutely true. So they couldn't put in here that worms like to ride on a tricycle. Okay, they can do it blindfold, because that isn't true. Worms can't really ride a bicycle. They don't even have any legs. Okay, and I've never seen a worm ride a bicycle, particularly blindfold. So that wouldn't be a fact. But in information books, the details in there, the written words on the page, are absolutely true. So you can go and tell all your friends and everybody you know about what you've read, knowing it's absolutely true. So here it says, you can play with your friends at lunchtime or after school. That's absolutely true. You could do, couldn't you? It's a fact. Okay. So that's often you find facts as well on the internet. Okay, so not always in books, but on the internet. But sometimes you have to be a bit more careful on the internet. It's sometimes wise to have read it in at least 2 or maybe 3 different internet websites before you start telling people it's absolutely a fact and true. Okay, because sometimes people can put things on the internet that haven't been checked that they're absolutely true. Where when a book gets published, it has to be true. Okay, so it's an absolute fact that you're telling people. So let's have a think about index. Index. Can you flip through your book and find the index in your information book? Where's that index? Let's have a think. I'm going to find it. Mine seems to have gone missing. Hang on. There is my index. It is at the back of my book, just before the very last protected pages here, and it's just there. Okay, there's my index. It also has words followed by numbers. I wonder if that does a similar job to the contents page. Well, yes, it does. So an index is telling you where you might find particular things about particular words or particular subjects, and you can go straight to it. The thing is, those subjects or those particular words might pop up in more than one section or on more than one page, okay? So they could turn up on page 4 about friends at home or whatever, and it could also pop up in the section about friends at school. So it's about where certain words or certain subjects will pop up in more than one place in the book. So you can see there's lots of different numbers that follow, okay? So if I wanted about friends at school, or schools and friends, it has 18, 20, and a little dash line to 21. I should show that to the camera, which means that it's on page 18 about school friends, and also from page 20 all the way through to 21 you will find things about friends at school. So the index is about certain particular words or subjects that are going to pop up in more than one place. So an index is very, very handy as well. And last of all, the glossary. See if your book has a glossary. Not all information books do, okay? Sometimes children's ones don't, but I think probably they should appear more in children's books than anywhere else, because we're always learning new vocabulary, aren't we, in children's books? So a glossary is very handy for that. Now, I'm not going to need to turn my pages because my glossary is sharing the page with the index. You might find that's happening in your book too. A glossary has certain words, certain vocabulary that you might be able to understand what I mean when I say that. That means certain words, vocabulary, okay? And it might be that you possibly don't quite understand what the vocabulary, what the words mean, okay? You've read it, but you don't quite understand it. And they don't want you to go away not really knowing what you've just read. So if you read a word that you think, no idea what that means, and you've read the words around it to try and help you make sense of what it means, and still you can't work out what that word means, then you can always flick to the glossary, which will usually be at the back, and see if that word is listed at the back. Not all of them are, but you can always use a dictionary then if it doesn't appear in the back of your glossary. But if there's a word you don't understand, you can go there, see if it's in the glossary, and then it will give you a better detailed description of what it means. So, for instance, if I didn't know what trust meant, okay, so I read one of the pages and it says about friends being able to trust one another, but I think, what does trust really mean? I don't know. I head to the glossary and I find out that trust means believing that someone is good and tells the truth. That's a really nice, clear description of what trust means in friendship. So a glossary, also very handy feature in an information text. Okay, I think that will probably do for our features. Hopefully you managed to find them all in your book. Remember, not every book has every single one. Sometimes you have to really hunt to find them all, but generally they have most of them. Okay, so I asked you on the last lesson to have a go at creating your own information page, just one page about yourself, okay? And I've seen some of you do this already, and there's some really great stuff going on, okay? It's quite easy to write about yourself because no one knows yourself better than you do, so I wasn't getting you to research anything for your information book. You were going to take it all out of your own head because you know yourself well. And I asked you to put a heading, okay? My heading was Mrs P because I'm talking about myself. I asked you to use subheadings for certain facts that you wanted to write about. So I had favourite food as a subheading, and I had hobbies, things I like to do. Okay. I also had pictures. I said you could draw one or take a photo of yourself, which hopefully you have done. And then a caption by your picture. So I'm explaining what's going on in this picture of me. Mrs P's sitting down. There we go. So it's explaining what's happening in that picture of me there. And then underneath my subheadings, I wrote facts. Things that are absolutely true about myself. So I put under favourite food, the subheading, Mrs P really likes pasta. Punctuated it all, capital letters, finger spaces, and a full stop. So that was my fact there. Under the subheading hobbies, so if I wanted to just know about hobbies, wasn't fussed about favourite food, I could go straight to the subheading and know that the fact that follows will be about that subheading. Mrs P likes to sing in hobbies. So there you go. 2 facts about Mrs P that you read absolutely quickly on page 1 here. Okay, with my page number. Now, I want to go a little bit further with how we're going to deal with that information text now, okay? So, what I would like to do, I'm going to take a seat for this, what I would like you to do now is to create, and you can do this over the next couple of weeks, so don't feel like you have to do it all quickly today, by no means, okay? I want you to really think about how you're going to set your book out using all the features of an information text, and I'll put those back up at the end of the video if you want to pause on them. But I would like you to do an information book with several pages, with quite a few pages, maybe at least 4 pages, and I want it to be about people that help us, okay? Now, because of the situation we're in at the moment, we are really, really so happy and pleased to have all the great people that work at the NHS, all the hospitals and doctor surgeries and pharmacists and things like that that are helping people out if they become poorly. They are an absolutely obvious choice to go with, maybe on one of your pages for your information book about people that help us. So you've got to really sit and think. And I would probably make a list first with your adult to help you about all the people that do help us. Because when you start to really think about it, the list could become really huge, okay? So, definitely NHS staff, people that work in hospitals, so nurses, doctors, but there's more than just nurses and doctors in hospitals, so have a good chat about that, okay? There's tons of people that do different jobs at hospitals, that they wouldn't be able to function properly, wouldn't be able to work properly unless all these other people were there as well. So have a good chat about who works under the umbrella, shall we say, of the NHS. But then you can start thinking about other people. Now, every week, even though we're in lockdown and popping out, it could be a bit risky for some people, particularly people with ill health. But we still take our rubbish out every week because we're still eating quite a bit as well, if you're Mrs Patnell. And we have quite a bit of rubbish that we take out to the dustbins. And still, every week, the dustbin men and ladies, the dustbin collectors, come and take our rubbish. Okay, I think probably the formal term for them are refuse collectors. Okay, your refuse, your rubbish. They still come and take your rubbish away. Okay, and if they didn't come, especially in the hot weather, it would get very smelly out there in that dustbin. Okay, all sorts of things going mouldy out there. So they really do help us to keep our world a beautiful place and not become full of rubbish and get very smelly. So there's another example of people that help us. Okay, now who else could we think of, really, people that help us? A fantastic example are teachers. Okay, people that work in schools. So not just teachers, actually, teaching assistants, your office staff. So at our school we have a very lovely lady in our office who sorts everything out for us, absolutely everything. Any problems we have, we go in and see her and she takes care of everything. Okay, she's very good, she's cool as a cucumber. So there are lots of people in school, so not just teachers, actually, I shouldn't just say that. So people that help us in our schools. So I've already given you 3 possible conversation starters to have with your adults at home. So you can think of some more, I think. Try and be very original, different, okay? Try and think of one that somebody else may not have thought of at all. Think about how lovely our world is, okay? And why is it that lovely? Who is helping to make that world a lovely place? What would it look like if they weren't there doing their jobs, okay? What would people look like? What would places look like? What would buildings look like? So really have a good chat with your adults about that to come up with some good ideas about people that help us and to help keep our world a beautiful place. I would like you to have a separate page for every different group of workers that you are talking about. And I would like you to use the features that we spoke about. So let me just pop those back up again so you don't forget them. And you can pause the video on this, okay? So you don't, oops, it's upside down, that won't be very helpful. So you don't forget which ones to include. Now try your best to get as many of these in as you can. So you can pause the screen on this to have a look at them. But try and get as many of these in as you can, okay? There are certain ones that you really should get in. Pictures is important. Contents will be important to use it properly. In fact, if I start pointing at them, I think they're all quite important. So try and get them all into your information text if you can, okay? You can show me if you're in my class by putting it onto tapestry. You don't have to wait till your book is finished. You can show me page by page as it's being put together. There is actually a possibility that if you want to try using a computer to type some of these pages out, then you can. You can certainly add pictures on the computer. You can type out titles and headings and captions by your pictures using the computer. And I'm happy for you to do that. You could do a mixture of one page could be written and the next page about something else could be typed. It's entirely up to you, but it would be nice to see some use of your computer or your tablets to help you create your information book as well. Okay, so if you don't fancy writing on a particular day, then try typing instead. So remember, you can take several weeks to do this. This can go ongoing for 2 to 3 weeks. That is absolutely fine by me. But do have a go at it because it's very cool to make your own information book. Because then, particularly in my class, when we do come back to school, you could bring them back in and we will have a nice lot of information books that we could put in our own library. And you have helped to create our own library then. We don't have to rely on books that we have to buy. And in future years that come into our school can use your books to learn facts about people that help us. That would be fantastic. If you are at home, and you can't obviously bring your book in to me, which is a shame because I would love to see it, then you could probably take yours back to school when you go back after our lockdown period and show your teacher and ask them if you can put it into your library. And I imagine she would love to have your book about people that help us. So, happy writing or typing, guys. Remember, take your time, don't rush, don't think, oh, this is a huge chore, I've got to do maybe at least 3 to 4 pages in my information book. Take your time. Do 1 a week if you want to. That is fine by me. Well, have a lovely weekend if you're watching this on a Friday. If not, have a lovely weekday. And I will see you next time for some more literacy at home. Bye-bye.